And that's part of what makes what I do so important and why I find it very important, because sometimes Uncle Harley and his story does get brought up in school. For one reason or the other. One of my friends had a project that they had to pick an American icon and write about him. And he wanted to do Colonel Sanders because he knew me and he could get a lot of information from me that could help give an A+ on his assignment. But the teacher told him he wasn't a real person, so he wasn't allowed to do a story on him. And I assume this is what gets brought up in schools when Uncle Harley gets brought up, because Uncle Harley and his history, it is American history. It has nothing to do with the curriculum that schools teach. So, anyways, any history teacher or any teacher, period, that tells their student that Colonel Sanders was a fraud or wasn't a real man should not be allowed to teach in public schools or even private schools. You shouldn't be allowed to teach, period, because he was a very real man. I know that because he's part of my family. I'd like a teacher to tell my nephew when he gets old enough to get into school that he's not related to Colonel Sanders. I like a teacher to tell my nephew when he gets into school that Colonel Sanders wasn't a real person. I'd love for a teacher to tell my nephew why he's in school that he was a fraud. Because I will come to the parent-teacher conference. I'm not a parent, I'm an uncle, but I will attend it. Let me tell y'all a story about teachers and my father and uncle when they were in school. Uncle Harley died in 1980. My father and uncle were still in school when he died. When they got old enough to start bragging about it in school, the kids would make fun of them. The teacher said, you need to quit lying. They even called my parents, my grandparents. My grandparents raised me. They would call my grandparents in to address it, saying that you need to have control of your children. They need to quit lying. Well, my grandparents put that teacher in their place. They showed the proof that, yes, Colonel Sanders is in our family. Yes, they knew Colonel Sanders, and yes, they are proud of him. So the teacher's response then was, well, maybe they shouldn't brag about it because it makes other students jealous. Well, my grandparents then ripped them a new one and said they could absolutely brag about it and be proud of their family heritage. It's not our fault that they aren't related, but we are proud of our family history. And I had to deal with that in school too. Teachers didn't believe me. They told me my uncle was fake. He wasn't a real person. Students didn't believe me and they bullied me over it because I wasn't rich and I couldn't bring him into school. He was dead. He died 17 years before I was born. They wanted me to bring him into school. Uncle Harley is very popular in pop culture today. And because of the ads KFC put out over the last 10 years disrespecting his image, my generation and younger have only got that image of him. So we don't even know his story other than from what I'm sharing. So while yes, we have the mascotted image, he was a very real person and he was much more than just an icon. So next time the teacher or substitute teacher says something like that, send them to my page so that they can get some education themselves.